I want to talk about the notion of evolution as a trader, and in particular, my sort of summation or observation of the domains that traders need to master or control, or at least have some vague semblance of understanding as they move through their evolutionary path. The thing to note about traders is that all of us undergo the same pathway. There are no new mistakes. Nobody is Robinson Crusoe. Everybody makes the same mistakes. Everybody thinks that initially in trading that an answer can be found in looking at something like this. And it doesn't matter whether your bent is technical or fundamental. People who follow fundamental analysis believe that the answer to investing or trading is to be found in balance sheets. Technical traders believe it is to be found in plastering the chart with an infinite number of tools, indicators, lines, each one of which is designed to take you further and further away from price itself. What this means is that traders who do this are searching for something. They're searching for an answer, an idea, some means of predicting or controlling the future. Most traders move away from this over time, if they are successful, to an understanding that trading is more like this. You simply sit and wait for a wave. That's what you do. You sit and you wait. Some waves are really, really good and take you all the way to the shore, and they're the sort of thing you go home and tell all your friends about. The majority of waves go nowhere. They don't do anything. You just sit there and they pass by. Intriguingly, I still get, or my junk mail folder gets, this sort of chart from people who profess to be professional traders at least once a week. And it is intriguing that they have not learnt the lesson that in trading, the most important thing is price. What is price telling you? Not what is an iteration of price telling you. They have not learned the lesson that every time you apply a tool to a chart, you're pulling yourself one step back from what the market is actually telling you. And it's interesting that they haven't learnt these lessons. They have not managed to master the heuristics or domains that I'm going to talk about. Most obviously, the first thing you must learn to do is control yourself. We think we have an illusion of control over the market. We think that somehow our decision-making exerts control over the market. The only thing we can control is ourselves. And the control of yourself is central to being able to undertake any endeavour at whatever level you want to do it. The moment you lose control of yourself, the battle is over. So the first step is this notion of control. How do I control myself? Allied to that, and as a functional part thereof, in trading, our decisions are bounded. They can never be perfect because we do not have infinite time. We don't have infinite understanding, infinite knowledge. But knowledge is required, and I'll actually give you an example at the end where a lack of knowledge is holding somebody back. Trading is not rocket science, but there are certain things you do need to learn. There are things you do need to know in able to navigate markets as they appear to you. Trading has moved from an information poor profession, as it was when I first started. When I first started, the only instrument available to you that you could deal in with any degree of ease were local equities. Futures contracts had just been introduced, but they were sized in such a way that they were only available to institutions. Options were only just appearing on the horizon. Completely impossible to trade in foreign exchange, and absolutely and completely impossible to deal on foreign markets. The only way you could deal in a foreign market was to actually move to the country you wanted to trade and take up residency. we now have the opposite problem. We're now flooded with information, most of it useless. So you need to learn how to manage the information that you are receiving so that you can actually make decisions and not simply be flooded by rubbish. You also need to look at the way you work. What are the human factors involved in the way you do things? What does your workspace look like? Is it this sort of multi-monitored abortion of an arrangement, where again, this is a function of attempting control, of thinking that this sort of arrangement somehow generates control? And most importantly, and this harks back to the notion of self-control, how do you respond to the information you are receiving? What is your reaction to it? In fact, the question should be asked, do you have a reaction to it at all? And if you do, that is somewhat problematic, and that is something you will need to deal with. If we have not mastered, or at least attempted to find a pathway through all these bits and pieces, our trading can move from being somewhat of a shambles to resembling the Tokyo Parliament on a bad day to a complete and absolute. And unfortunately for most people, their trading seems to oscillate through these three environments. Bit of a shambles, total cock-up, complete clusterfuck. And they never move beyond that. And they never move beyond that because they fail to engage in the principles I've just spoken about. And I mentioned I was going to give you an example. And in the strange way the universe works, which is merely a function of the law of large numbers, if you are around for long enough, you will eventually get an email that coincides with what you've actually been thinking about and considering. And it is one of those wonderful coincidences. This is an email that we received just recently. And this is the email verbatim, wonderful use of capital letters included. And I want to quickly walk through this and look at it from the perspective of the points I've just mentioned. So the email starts, I'm a new trader. I've read your books and your website, and I notice you spruik IG. That's a factual error to start with, so that runs you into trouble. I am noticing massive price discrepancies on the IG platform. The intriguing thing here, there is no evidence presented of this. And you have this dualism. You have someone who says they're a new trader, but they're noticing massive price discrepancies. Only someone who has been around for some time would actually know that there are discrepancies in pricing within markets. This is somewhat a function of the Dunning-Kruger effect. For those of you who don't know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, it is worthwhile having a look. Here we have an ego-based defensiveness, and it's setting up for an explanation as to why they're failing. Again, this is a function of a lack of knowledge, but it's also a function of a lack of self-control. The email continues, at the end of the day when markets are closed, the latest price in open positions and the price on the charts is totally different, often not in my favour. How the hell am I supposed to trade successfully when the platform is clearly trading against me? This speaks to a lack of knowledge. What people don't understand is at the end of the day, SEATS, which is the ASX dealing system, purges a lot of orders at the end of the day. So they're simply removed from the system a lot of orders a day only. So you have the period of transition at the end of the day when prices try and find an equilibrium. You also have a situation whereby off-market orders, such as transfers and the like, are being cleared through the system. So they appear to be anomalous to you if you don't actually know what they are. And there is a third point here. And the third point here is if you're trading a market that trades 24 hours, there is a discrepancy between when one market shuts and when the other opens. They don't overlap. So here we have a lack of knowledge, but we also have an egocentric inability to control yourself. And this is apparent in the notion of believing that the platform is trading against him. Well, the platform is not. The platform doesn't do anything. The platform merely conveys information. That's all it does. We continue. Have you ever scrutinised the IG prices and open positions against the charts at the end of the day and noticed price discrepancies? Well, yes, for the reasons I've just outlined, and also the fact that IG go to great lengths to say that their charts are actually provided by a third party using a slightly different data source, and therefore they're indicative. And this is plastered all over the chart, that the price is indicative. So again, we come back to a lack of knowledge. And we conclude, looking forward to your answer. Well, that's easy. You're an idiot.